All right, let's talk more about the budget now. I'm being joined by an economist, Osilama Okwofu. Mr. Osilama, thank you very much for coming on the program. Not quite long ago, we were here talking about the 2017 budget, and now it's a 2018 budget. The president, of course, has presented the budget quite huge, in terms of figure, over 8 trillion naira. But just give me your take on some of the benchmarks now of the budget. Have benchmark price 45. What actually worries me is the benchmark oil production of 2.3 million barrels per day. Is it something you think it's a target?
We didn't achieve 2.1, which was the benchmark.
Yes, we did not.
For the existing. No, don't say 2017.
Yeah, because we're still in 2017.
Existing budget. Even with the fact that the Niger Delta crisis or situation is a lot better now.
And we have the cap from OPEC.
Exactly, from OPEC, which, I mean, in some situations we've been accused of not following or obeying. It's good to be ambitious, right? But your ambition has to stem from certain given situations. A budget, like I told you during the last time we talked about the 2017 budget, is a statement of intent. And like I cautioned then, I'm cautioning again now, we need to be careful with our expectations. Nothing wrong in the high amount that was quoted, over 2 trillion above the existing budget. But the conditions precedent, the conditions under which those parameters will be met haven't changed. Don't forget that this is a government that has rolled over or planned or signaled to plan to roll over 60% of the capital expenditure to next year, which means there are certain fundamentals that are not right. And I don't think those things have been addressed. So like I said, it's good, 8.6 trillion.
What exactly would be your biggest concern with the budget? Because some people have said, look, the revenue side of things, I mean, it's overly ambitious. For instance, we're expecting revenue from sources we're not absolutely sure they're going to come. Talk about recoveries from loot, for instance. We are not sure the money will come. You talk about some other sources as well. We're planning to sell some of our non-oil assets. We're not even sure we would be able to sell them. And those are the areas we're projecting to generate money from. So we can be absolutely sure. The same way we can be absolutely sure we're going to do 2.3 million barrels of oil per day. Maybe the price of oil can stay above the benchmark, but we can be sure when you look at other
It rose above the benchmark. I mean, when the president delivered his budget speech, that was one area he applauded. The recovery from the recession was aided by the increase in the international price of crude oil. My reservation is, like I said, it's good to be ambitious, but my reservation does stem from the fact that even the president alluded to, a situation whereby we did not, bring in so much from non-oil revenues. Right. He actually lamented the very abysmal performance in that sector. That's why I said certain fundamentals have not changed. So upon what are you anchoring or cresting this very ambitious budget? I have a problem with 30.8% being allocated to capital expenditure. I've said it once, I've said it twice. Not even up to
30. From what we know, from what we're seeing, it's just around 28%.
Why? The budget said, the president read 30.8%. And so I'm holding the president to his word. Even if it is 40%, I've said it before, and I'll say it over and over and over again. We should look at what Brazil did over a 30-year period. I'm beginning to sound like a scratched record in that regard. But if a country did something that worked so well for them, such that within a 30-year period, over 32 million Brazilians were taken away from poverty to middle class. 32 million is the population of Argentina. Go and find out. They succeeded in growing their economy. What we see today in Brazil, in cities like Brasilia, Rio de Janeiro, and they were not there 50 years ago. So we need to study what they did, even if it requires sending a team to go and spend 1 year there, study what they did, and let's come back and replicate it. I've taken time, before to explain what they did, but I mean, I don't want to go into it anymore. So as an emerging economy, we need to grow our infrastructure. Our infrastructures
that is part of the problem.
Hang on, our infrastructures. Hang on. Our infrastructures are decadent and in some situations virtually non-existent. What do you mean by we don't have the resources? You have budgeted. See, our government is over-bloated. You are spending the balance of the budget on recurrent expenditure. Cut down, prune down on feeding, eating your future. We have the money, we have the resources to step by step, take one sector at a time. A situation where you want to achieve 7 agenda program, you want to achieve 10, just pick one. If in a year you say we're going to grow our road infrastructure, wonderful. The next year, focus on rail. The next year, focus on developing our health infrastructure. Do you know that for a country as large as Nigeria, a people of conservatively 180 million, 71 billion was budgeted for the health sector. Tell me why won't Nigerians die in an untimely manner? Tell me why the wife of the president would not go to a hospital that is supposed to cater for the high and mighty and not be able to get scanned or given Panadol. So you can imagine what kind of things that happen in the teaching hospitals and the general hospitals. We need to get our priorities right. We are a growing economy. Sacrifices must be made. You look at countries like Britain and America today, generations long gone and forgotten, paid the price. Let's pay the price for our children, our grandchildren, and those that are generations far, far yet unborn. I'm willing to make that sacrifice. We should make that sacrifice.
Let's talk about good thing that the president presented his budget early enough. But do you still, when you look at, you judge from history, right from 2010, as a matter of fact, to this period, it's always taking the National Assembly between 5 to 6 months to actually get the budget passed. Because let's face it, as we speak today, we do not have the 2018 budget because the National Assembly still has to work on it. Do you think by January, from what you can see, that by January the 2018 budget will be ready for implementation?
The highlight for me wasn't even the president's presentation. It was the speech made by the president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki. Even before the president addressed the Joint House, I marveled at his depth and his ability to capture those things that are really very, very, very fundamental. Even before listening to the speech, he had articulated those things that matter. And something that struck me was, he said, listen, of what use is spending money on agriculture, right, if the farmer cannot take his or her product by good roads for sale to make an income? So you see, certain things go hand in glove. So, and he did highlight the fact that it's necessary for the executive to parley and lobby the legislature, which is the way democracies work. A situation where you one arm thinks it can overload it over the other, it's not going to work.
And of course, we're hearing from the National Assembly now, for instance, the lawmaker in charge of appropriation, I think, or so in the National Assembly or in charge of the budget has come out to say the implementation of the 2017 budget has actually not even hit 60%. So there's no possibility that the 2018 budget will be passed this year. The Speaker of the House of Representatives too has come out to say, look, you know, that with the problems you have among the ministries and agencies, you know, their budgets are actually not ready yet, because they'll still have to come defend. That when you look at all of that, it's just not possible that this budget will be ready by January.
It's not about whether the budget is ready or not. The one that is ready, like you rightly stated, how well has it been executed? The Speaker of the House of Representatives actually queried this current budget, the 2017 budget. That's the level of its implementation. And I equally found that very, 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 you know, heartwarming. Because you cannot... See, the budget was passed and signed into law. Essentially what it means is that you are contravening the law. That is what it means. So somebody somewhere has to explain to Nigerians why an appropriation bill duly signed by the president as passed by the legislature was so poorly executed. You know, heads should roll. Heads should roll. You know, people just sit down in their comfort zones. They don't, lazy attitude. You know, you put square pegs in round holes. Even when they know that they are incompetent and inefficient, they sit tight. You know, something has to give, really. If we continue, you know, the way we are, we will not make progress. Because if you keep doing something that is not working for you, year in, year out, decade in, decade out, you'll just be oscillating in the void. And that's what Nigeria is doing right now. Things went wrong, you know, at some point. And I've always said, let's look back, let's walk back and find out where we derailed. Nigeria progressed so well economically under the regions. I accept that we can't go back to the regions. But you can devolve powers to the states, just like the premiers had powers. And there was competition between between Western Nigeria, Eastern Nigeria, Northern Nigeria, and Midwestern Nigeria. Some of the projects that were executed during that era or during those periods are still in existence today. If you go to Auchi in those states, there's this area we call the Catering Rest House. You will see the road that was built in the 60s. It's still in existence, far better than the ones that are in existence today. You know, so things need to be done right. The center is too powerful and inefficient. Even the finance minister, just briefly, alluded to the fact that the problem is not as if we don't have money, but the resources, you know, by the time you now start pumping the resources, you know, nationwide, you hardly see anything. That's why I said we need to be strategic. But if you now devolve powers to the state, economic powers, especially to the states, and let the states grow at their pace, maximize the potentials they have, you will see growth.
So for you, when do you expect that this 2018 budget will become operational?
Hopefully January, like the president pleaded. I mean, he actually pleaded that.
I doubt if it's going to happen in January.
Well, you see, we need to...
But if it happened in January, it means we'll be running both budgets, right?
It means we'll be running both budgets. I mean, especially given the fact that, you know, the existing one came into force around March, right?
Like even, I think, May or so.
So, but what alignments can take place. But what is even fundamental is a signal has already been given that there will be a rollover. So you can roll over and coalesce everything into one. They might not really necessarily run side by side. If the budget, this 2018 budget as proposed by the president, you know, is assented to early enough, if it is passed in general and assented to, well, good. We need to go back to, like the president rightly stated, January to December, which is easy, I mean, for people to understand, you know, I know that, okay, we're starting in January, we're ending in December. That was the way it was. I remember growing up, when I was growing up, I remember President Shehu Shagari, you wake up on the 31st of January, or 1st of January to listen to the budget. And it was like that for, you know, a period of time. You know, but sometimes the way things are, you see, that's why I said things are become so haphazard. Okay. You know, and Nigeria is not, we are worse for wear for it. Something has to give.
The most important thing is implementation. And
it's about implementation. I said it the last time. I cautioned you. I said, let's not be overly optimistic. Not because I don't want I want it to work. If I drive from Lagos to Benin, I want to drive on a very good road. But at some point between Shagamu and Ore, the road is horrible. If I now get to Benin, I want to drive to Auchi. It's in the portion between Ekpoma and Ewu is horrible. It's impassable. So the tendency for me to want to go home is not there. December is coming. I probably want to spend Christmas there, but I'm reluctant. The point I'm making is, you know, we need to focus on those things that matter. I said it the other time, if you remember. I queried why we have so many agencies that should...
No doubt.
Even right now, I'm saying, I'm even now going beyond the agencies and departments. I'm going to the ministries now. Why must we have a Ministry of Environment when we have a Ministry of Health? Because at the end of the day, issues that have to do with environment coalesce into health. What do you need a ministry of
water resources?
No, not water resources. What is a ministry? A ministry of what do you call it? Ministry of Science and Technology. When education is there, everything is about is education. We are too big, and the way we are structured right now, like Professor Patutomi said, we are structured to fail, and we are failing big time.
Mr. Salam Akofo, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Sharing your thoughts with us. Now, just before we go, let me touch on one issue that happened recently. Just before the Anambra State governorship election, the state governor, Willie Obiano, complained that the police withdrew his security aids without any explanation. Cut a long story short, the president intervened and ordered the immediate restoration of the security aids, which includes the ADC and chief security officer. The order was, of course, carried out with immediacy. But what the issue is for me in this whole drama is in the statement put out by the police. The police, of course, denied withdrawing the security aids of the governor. Now, that's fine. But it went on to add that it assigns 221 policemen to the governor for his security. It even went on to give the breakdown. And indeed, the number came to 221. Now, here's my worry. If one governor gets 221 policemen to guard him, then you can imagine how many policemen are guarding the 36 state governors of this country. Let's assume the other governors get 221 policemen as security aids as well. Then, when you multiply 221 by 36, that will give you 7,956. Now, that's just for governors alone. Imagine the number of policemen you have guarding the president, ministers, lawmakers, commissioners, local government chairmen, heads of government agencies and parastatals, high net worth individuals in the country, banks, companies, etc. The list is just endless. Now, the question is, how many policemen do we then have policing our towns, cities, and communities? I guess the question doesn't need an answer. And by the way, according to data from the website of the Nigeria Police, the total population of policemen and women in Nigeria today is 290,356. This clearly shows something is wrong with us. Our police does not really belong to us. It belongs to them. This certainly has to change. We just have to do something about it. Well, that's it on the program. If you want to watch it again, it's simple. You can just do so by going to our website, tv360nigeria.com. You'll find this program and lots more there. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. The address is youtube.com/tv360nigeria. Now, do subscribe to get the latest videos and updates. You can as well join us on Google+. It's at TV360 Nigeria. Or like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/tv360 online. Do also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at TV360 Nigeria. We'll see you again next week. Thank you and bye for now.